LinkedIn stories.
Hi everyone. Um, Good evening from us here in Europe. So wherever you're watching from, whatever time it is for you over there. My name is Mike, as most people already do know, and I am from Settling and Opportunity Pulse. Today I have here with me Steven, my business partner from Opportunity Pulse, and we have a very special guest this evening that we are so happy to have here today, uh, Yara Daniela from Yara Spark. This evening is going to be a very exciting conversation. Um, Not just exciting, but also quite inspiring. As the title goes, from Africa to Europe and back. I think it's a wonderful um, story which we're going to be sharing this evening. But before we proceed, I would like the other members to quickly just introduce themselves and we get onto the gist. Stevie.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mike, for the opportunity and the introduction. Excited I am, just like you, to host Daniela. You know, when you follow people and you see what they're doing, sometimes you wish to sit in the same room with them. And today we are in the same room. I'm now happy to see and feel Daniela in this space virtually. But I'm even more so excited to be hearing more from her story. And I'm always looking for those inspiring moments. So I'm very much excited to hear from her and to learn about her journey and how this could inspire many others. So I'm looking forward to.
Thank
Great.
you.
Daniela.
So, my name is Daniela Yaira Orlando. Daniela, it's the Italian identity that I carry, and Yaira is the Ghanaian identity. Just should I just start introducing myself a bit?
Yeah,
Yeah,
obviously.
you
Okay.
almost got to say it already.
So a bit about me. Um, so I was born in Ghana, specifically in Tema, which is a city next to Accra, that is the capital of Ghana, and what my mom called one of the best hospitals in 1998. So I came up and I grew up there in the village till I was about 5. And after that, I was what I say, I was taken away to Italy. My mom um, and my dad were already based in Italy. I just had a Ghanaian childhood, and then I was brought there, and I learned the language. And interesting enough, my mom really wanted me to be 100% Italian, so she stopped speaking to me the language of Ghana, and I was old enough to retain memories, but young enough to forget the whole language. So I still have memories of people talking to me in my village, but in my memories, they speak in Italian. So that's just a fun fact. But I've been going to classes trying to get it back. So um, living all my life in Italy up until I was 19. As I often say to my Ghanaian friends, don't worry, Italy is like the Ghana of Europe. All those countries in the Mediterranean coast, Spain, Portugal, Italy, Greece, we all have the same African mentality of having fun, eating well, enjoying the sun that is very strong there. So I would say I wasn't so far away from the culture. Plus, I had a Ghanaian mom, very Ghanaian mom, and the opportunity to eat either an Italian steak or some fufu and jollof all the time. So that was cool. Definitely Ghana stayed with me with the food. And yeah, at 19, as every Italian young person, I decided to move out of Italy because it's a country that, exactly like in Africa, doesn't give much job opportunities. And where do you go to when you don't have anywhere to go and you
Exactly.
are skilled? Germany. At least that was my conclusion. So I would say for now, I gave a bit of my introduction. I moved to Germany and I stayed there for 3 years. After 3 years in Germany, Berlin, the capital, amazing city. It opened up my mind, made me grow and understand who I was. I decided to talk business and move to Switzerland, where I've worked for one of the biggest pharmaceutical company in the world. I understood how to be strategic in your thinking and how to, create money and wealth. And Switzerland, I would say, beat the worm out of me so much that I decided to redirect my future thinking to Ghana because I was like, I've always I actually never had the chance to go to Ghana for all my life. And
Okay.
finally, when I was in Switzerland, I have accumulated enough wealth to just be able to afford the ticket. So I was like, Mom, let's go. Me and you taking the tickets, we're going back. And at 24, after more than 2 decades, I went back for the first time and I just fell in love with the place. I realized that a lot of things inside of me were just this nurture versus nature, and that you cannot beat blood, and that many things that made sense for me in Ghana were just normal, and in Europe I just couldn't find people who had the same kind of thinking. So I realized, okay, actually, I would say for me, West Africa, but I will visit the whole of Africa. But I definitely think it's the future. And that was the first seed for me to realize, actually, this is Europe, or what I've lived so far in Europe is not how the world works, but it's just how one world works. And from what I see, I prefer this world better. So that was my thinking.
Mm. Amazing. Amazing. Like, I just can't imagine what go through your head after 24 years and you have to go back and find your roots. Um, and I would like to come exactly to that point about your inspiration. There must have been a longing in you to find out your roots. What is it that you're looking at? Because the purpose of this meeting is to show opportunities can be at both ends of the globe. Yeah. There is always a tendency to look at opportunities
Yeah.
from the other side. But what is it that you were really looking at, the other part of the global south?
I would say at the beginning, it was a purely personal longing to just check out my roots and understand how people think there, how they act, what I was missing. Because believe it or not, my mom still dismisses this to these days, but I really felt when I was little this not wanting to leave, this wanting to stay here, this feeling of community. I remember kids coming to me because I was always the child that could stock up food the most. Because you're always sharing. So if you stock up food, the children will know and they will come to you and everybody will be very social. And I remember being in Italy and stocking up food, and then the next day there was more food, and this didn't make sense to me and what I was used to. And I remember Europe being the place where I couldn't climb trees anymore, like I couldn't be free. And my mom would say, "No, we don't do this in Europe," and me being like, what's the point? For the first year, I didn't eat any Italian food. She had to cook only Ghanaian because I would refuse. So this feeling of not wanting to be here and missing Ghana and not wanting to leave when I was in Ghana, it's something that accompanied me. And so it was a push to rediscover what was going on and what was Ghana. So when I went there, I realized that West Africa has the opposite problems of Europe. Here we live in like sardines in like very tall buildings, in like containers, and sometimes you don't even know your neighbor's name. I remember I scared a kid in the village when he asked me with his eyes all shiny, "How is Europe? I would love to come." And I told him, "In Europe, you can live years in an apartment and not know your neighbor's name. And him be like, no, it's impossible. You're just trying to scare me, you know? And because there, every 5 meters, someone says, hi, how are you? How's your mom? And everybody knows each other. So this concept
Mm.
of being close, but not knowing each other's name just didn't resonate with him. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, we have opposite problems. We all live in restricted spaces. It's difficult to find housing. It's expensive to live, and like actually, I would say classical type of jobs are dying. Whether in Ghana, I really felt this 1970s Europe, or how I imagine 1970s Europe, where there are like lot of spaces, everyone is building, accommodation is very cheap, and I just saw this potential, this like everything is everything is power and potential, and I the most astounding one was. Actually, I've been in Ghana, but I've been also in Nigeria too. And while working in Nigeria, I was working with the host that was hosting me, Philip. Shout out to Philip if he's looking at this or is he gonna look at this. And we're walking, and we just saw like little mountain of red dust, a little mountain of rocks, a little mountain of cement. And that then kept on going, another 10, 15 meters, another little mountain of something. I was walking and I was just thinking, why there is so much mess in the street? What is going on? And he just looked at me and being like, yeah, buildings are just putting all together resources, buying the materials, and when there is enough material in the street, we just build a road. I was like, I never saw this. Is this how it worked in Europe? How is this even like I'm seeing development with my own eyes real? And I think as someone brought up in Europe, I never thought I would ever be able to access this world, that this world was in the past, but is existing right now in 2025 in West Africa. So
Yeah.
that for me, it's like the biggest example of, hey, I I have still so much to do. I have great spending power that Europe is not really making me see, because here, whatever I'm earning, I don't really I'm able to invest it because it's not so much. But there is so much actually. So it just made me realize I could actually make an impact here. I could impact people's lives. Also, I just love the culture of giving that there is. I was, for example, talking with a producer of musicians, and he was telling me, "Oh, you know this famous musician? Okay. Some of my Ghanaian friends will bash me if I don't know his name, but he's the guy who did Quest the Traveler, that very famous Ghanaian song. The one is like, who never, fuck now, raise your hands, no hands. Ah, yes, Black Sheriff. And he
Ah,
was talking about, yeah, you know that.
okay. I guess it's the way you said it.
I don't know if it's politically correct to sing.
Never had to-
Yeah, that's one.
Okay.
I don't like to say I did it. So apparently him, when he signed his first record and he realized he was gonna be a very, very big star, he did something that I think as someone brought up in Europe, it's not that you don't want to do it, but it's unthinkable to do. He just went to an hospital. He said, okay, all the women that have trouble giving birth today, I want to help them with my money. And that day, he helped make him born 62 children. And when I was hearing this story from the music producer talking about this singer, as if he was like, oh yeah, it's a very nice gesture, look at what he did with his money, it just clicked to me. Like, I just feel like the idea of spending power, the idea of generosity that is present in Africa and how much positive impact you can do, we don't have it here because first of all, we don't think our money it's so much. Our
mm,
parents enjoy being able to earn to buy homes. We will never be able to buy homes. So
mm,
even this feeling of actually with this money I can help people, so many people, we don't
mm,
have it. And we wouldn't even ever think about being so generous with our money. So for me, I just felt like being able to be in this in between Europe and Africa, it's actually a good spot to be in, and being able to bring resources and impact lives and seeing development real life. I just love that concept. Also because yeah, of course I'm talking just about the good things, but there are also certain things that are quite messy, communication is unclear. So for those things, I think I really am happy that I've had my European kind of upbringing, but I'm also happy that I can see the value in Africa and I really want to go back there and make changes. So I just love
mm,
where I am now, the perspective I have, and the power I have to change people's lives through businesses and
mm.
partnerships.
Impressive, impressive. I don't know if Mike would like to follow up on that, but there's something that I just can't stop thinking about. Like you are here in Europe, you see from what you have, you're not able to make so much impact. There is that hidden potential in you,
Yeah.
the feeling of not having enough, yet you really have enough, and then you see the gap somewhere. And
Mm-hmm.
given the buying power that you have and the resources that could not make so much impact in Europe, you put it to use somewhere, and then you see a huge impact. Um, do you think there are many people that are trapped up this side of the globe that can't see the power they have? They can't see the amount of value they can make on lives back home. And if yes, what does it take for someone to see that and then take action?
That's a very good question, Steven. Thank you for raising it. I would say totally. Before being in Ghana, I would have never thought that my 5 euros, 10 euros could have changed someone's life. When I went to Africa, I literally was asked by a mom that was crying with her baby in her hands, "Hey, since you're in Europe, please can you help me buy my baby some medicines?" And the cost was just 10 euros, you know. And of course there was a part of me that was like, is this a scam? Do I trust these people or not? And then there was a part of me was like, yeah, but then what? You just lost 10 euros, you know. It's not much, even if it's a scam, you know. And anyway, if it is, they're gonna use it in water and basic necessities. You know, it's not that they're gonna go and spend it in crazy luxurious stuff. So anyways, I really felt like whatever happens, this money, it's better in their hands than in mine because of the spending power difference. So I definitely think if you're staying in Europe, you cannot see this. You don't even think that you have enough resources to impact people's lives. And
Yeah.
I would say that if this changes, there still would be a really big level of distrust. In fact,
Mm,
among one of my many ideas of businesses, I would really love to create something like in the lines of between TikTok and like Russia roulette, where it's all about people seeing people and meeting
mm,
people, possibly from different areas where the spending power is different. And it's like an exchange of either resources like money or services where, hey, you can see me and be like, look, right now I will need 2 euros to do this. Can you give it to me? And for you, it's just 2 euros because in that day you decided that you're generous and you give. Another day you decide that you're poor and you want to ask. And people could really observe what their money and their donation or their exchange of services does in real life. Because I think
mm,
obviously everyone would know that there is a dying child somewhere and that their 2 euros in their pocket or between the sofa could change that child's life, they would give it. I believe
mm,
that humans are inherently good. Everybody would do it. But to get to that moment, there are so many institutions and so many barriers, distrust, not being sure that actually it arrives to the child, not being able to see that child and the development that that money gives, that actually block this flux of money. Because I think also something I realized when I went to Africa, it gives you so much purpose. I had this friend of mine that came from the UK that told me how he felt. First of all, he was white and he was English and he was a male, and he felt like with the discourse of like being more and more open to discuss racism, more and more open to discuss the history, shaming ex-colonizers because of that. He felt like he didn't have any more purpose. He didn't know where he fit in the world. That actually, he was the enemy, and he was a past that was dying, and he saw in me a future that was arising. And that felt so sad because I was like, do you know how many women would love to marry you and would give you so much purpose in your life, if you just could see that you
Yeah.
actually can change someone's life. So yeah, I think I hope I answered this question, and I think yeah, there is a
Absolutely.
gap there that needs to
Mm.
be fixed.
Absolutely, you did very well. And you just mentioned a very nice business concept, which is basically crowdfunding in real time, where you can make
Yes.
a difference in real time and see it. I guess Mike will talk about that later on, maybe combining with all the digital platforms. Mike, would you like to follow up on that, or do you want me to
Yeah.
show?
No, I would actually like to touch on something which Daniela mentioned because um, this is something that we don't pay attention to a lot, um, especially the more you spend time out of Africa, then, or rather your home country, then the less you're connected to the place. And if we don't pay attention to it, then we lose a lot of, we forfeit a lot of things which we could do. Um, I've never really heard someone say this the way Daniela described it, that the whole thing about the purchasing power, in the sense that you have so much to offer, but because of where you are, what you have seem like it's first and foremost not enough, let alone to have any impact, if at all. But whereas that little that you have can make such great impact. I'd like to connect it with the conversation I was having with a friend some time ago, and it was really about for people in diaspora to try to connect back with their roots, connect back with home, regardless of what time you left. Because whether you like it or not, um, the little changes that you make have great impact in your home country. If you don't make your contribution, you might end up coming back to see it the way you left it. And um, if we in diaspora are able to understand the impact that we are able to make, especially considering the purchasing power, I think that would encourage people a lot to know that yes, I can do something. And who knows, maybe the whole thing that we complain about regarding the status of the continent, this could gradually begin to change. And we see this in different ways. For example, the remittance going from Germany or other parts of Europe and the US and Canada to Africa, to most of the countries back home. It makes a lot of difference, in the GDP of the country. Then think about when people are more conscious about um, the little contributions that they make, how much impact it has. I think that would go a long way in really changing things for us.
Hmm.
So yeah,
100,
that's what I wanted to mention.
100%. You just said something quite pertinent. Like we can still complain about how we left home and things haven't changed. But again, who is supposed to fix that?
Yeah.
So very important. And Daniela, moving forward now to your entrepreneur personality or side of you as a digital creator, as a very creative person, as an entrepreneur, how did you move from the person like you are here in Europe? Probably at some point you didn't see so much value you can create or make to the world, and now see yourself as a champion for good. Um, could you walk us through that transition, your first idea, the concept, and how you now make this much broader from Europe to Africa?
Can you actually repeat the last sentence? I didn't hear very well.
Yeah, if you could just walk us through your entrepreneurship journey, um, as you having said when you are in Europe and you felt like probably you could not make so much impact, and when you got the other part of the world to Ghana to Nigeria, and you see lots of opportunities. Maybe you could just walk us through that journey, that inspiration, and the how you opened up your eyes to all these opportunities.
So, first of all, I think it was easier for me because I am someone, okay, I don't want to actually exclude anyone in this and make it inclusive, but I do think this entrepreneurial journey was kind of forced on me somehow at the beginning because I was trying to find a job in Switzerland and I wasn't really succeeding in it. And also, the experiences and the deals that I was getting weren't really good and they were very controlling. And I had the luck of starting my first job in Berlin as a working student for a boss that really told me, I don't care where you are in the world as long as the job is done. And then I just stumbled upon another opportunity that was remote, and then another one. And that really opened my eyes to the freedom that you can have when you can work from anywhere and you can just open your computer and your laptop. So that was something that stayed within me, this attachment to the freedom of working from everywhere, and the deals that I was getting weren't that, were mostly sitting in the office all the time, were mostly being always an intern or a working student and not being recognized for the value that I actually provided and the skills I have learned. And so the deals weren't looking good, and it made me feel a bit like in the past when I was in Italy. The day I decided to leave Italy was the day um, I applied for a job that was in an agency to be a
Mhm.
cleaner, and they rejected me because I didn't have experience. And I definitely don't want to be classist here, but I felt like, come on, guys, I'm 19 and you're rejecting me because I don't have experience. This is not it. And then I decided to move. So for me, the same was kind of the deals I was getting in Switzerland. I was like, this is not really convenient. And everybody was like, oh, just close your eyes. Just, it doesn't matter if it's another internship. It doesn't matter if they don't recognize your talent. You will get it at some point. And I felt like, yes, but how? When? And then I was interviewed for a super mega hyper great job for a super mega hyper great company that was gonna pay me like 8,000 francs a month. It was gonna be super great, and I went to the interviews process, and then right before they were about to hire me, they were like, "We just canceled the position. I'm so sorry. It's not existing anymore. We don't need this." And
Wow.
then in that moment, my world crashed. It was like, come on, guys. I was about to call my mom, be like, you don't need to work anymore. I can take care of you guys. Just chill. We can go to Ghana. I was even online. It was perfect. And then I realized, wait a second. They were about to pay you 8,000 a month for a job. This means that you were gonna bring to the company much more. This means
100%.
that this is your value. So why don't you just redirect all those skills instead of in a company in your own?
Yeah.
Why don't you just understand how to produce money and system with your own company? And that's when the switch happened to me and I realized, actually, when someone is a millionaire, we don't ask them who you work for. We ask them what companies you have, what businesses you have. And
Mm-hmm.
if I wanted to be better, if I wanted to have the wealth to impact a whole nation, to create jobs for the people I saw in Ghana, to really make the positive impact I wanted, I needed to think at that level. And so a bit the pressure of not finding what I wanted, a bit the pressure of finding what I wanted and then being cancelled on me, and the realization that the power is all within made me realize, okay, actually, I could be an entrepreneur. it will be harder. I will not get access to this money immediately, but at some point it will come. And when it comes, it's yours. It's nobody else's. It doesn't depend on someone saying this position is cancelled or this position is not cancelled. It's all within you. So I realized that making a company was the best decision. And I actually experimented. I think some people said that, wait, I want to really be able to say the information correctly. But
Mhm.
I believe Samsung started as a noodle and groceries company. Yes,
And
1938, I
what?
just confirmed. Yes, Samsung actually started in 1938. Initially, the company dealt in groceries, noodles, and other goods. And then they expanded much later in electronics. So actually, I feel like I was like Samsung. At the beginning, I was doing clothes. I was engaging women in my village, making them do handmade clothes that to then sell in Switzerland because that was the best disparity of power of spending power. Women that
Mhm.
were totally okay with being paid the same amount that in Switzerland you would pay for a fast fashion, but for them to actually make it for you. Then I decided to go into events. Then I decided to go into coaching. I was doing for a while all of the three together, doing in the same website, getting people to help me with the website when I was starting certain processes. Then the person that I got to help me, I decided, oh, this person is so good and we work so well together. And then he helped me connect to someone who did the branding for me, and all this process of becoming a company, a well established with a well established online presence made me realize actually there is gold here. There is gold in making a well established digital presence because this is what I need to create my own company. So this is what every entrepreneur needs. And I
100%.
realized, yeah, what I was creating was actually what the gold was. And I realized, okay, let me just hire all these people or collaborate with all these people and then making a company together. And that's how Yaira Spark was born. It started as coaching, consulting, event management, fashion industry. And then it became slowly a digital marketing company where, hey, we're actually helping you have an online presence. And to just say in Europe, it's much more understood the importance of that. In Africa, it's still getting there, but definitely I can help in the digitalization of the continent and in making people understand how important the digital presence is because then they can appear to any market, not only
Yeah.
the African
Yeah.
market. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Solid
Wow.
points.
What a
You know,
journey was it? What a journey from being rejected and being asked for experience as a cleaner to losing that lucrative job at last
mhm,
minute.
yeah,
Oh my goodness. And then now where you are, which is
yeah,
very, very interesting in the journey of any entrepreneur. The rejections, I
mm,
think, are what makes most entrepreneurs strong.
yeah,
And I'm sure Mike would allude to that,
yeah,
especially when you mentioned about the digital presence. He's one
yeah,
of those evangelists of digital presence as founder of Microsoft.
yeah,
Um, so Yaira Spark is a digital marketing platform or presence. It helps people. If you could help someone maybe listening, what would be your typical client and what kind of service or problems are you helping to solve here?
So, if we're talking about practicality, I don't have currently a niche like many suggest. I just
Mm,
help the people that I encounter and realize the importance of this. So, I've helped businesses like I'm currently helping a real estate company in Nigeria. I've
mm,
helped a restaurant slash club slash presence. Event space in Accra. I've helped yoga studio in Switzerland.
Mm,
So they are very varied actually, and they're not all the same, but they all understand that we are existing online right now. We could not talk if there wasn't the internet, and creating a digital space and taking up space in the online world is quite important. So what I would usually suggest every one of the clients is first you start with the branding. Who are you? Who is your target audience? What is your brand tone and voice? Like most people just do socials, but the social has to have a character, has to have a tone, and it should be possibly consistent with your website, and it should be possibly consistent with your flyers and commercials, so that when people see you, they see always the same colors, they see always the same tone and voice, they see always the same font. Of course, we
mm,
can control the fonts in the social media, but flyers and website we can, so that they kind of associate you with the same thing and it creates the same emotional reaction. And here I use my psychology background because I have a degree in psychology. So I really love to understand people's minds and understanding how they perceive the difference between perception and perspective. So that's what I start with. For example, if you're a client of mine, we do your branding and it can take between 2 weeks to a month. 2 weeks if you're in Nigeria, 1 month if you're in Switzerland. So I would say, and then after that, we create a website for you usually, or a social media, depending on your budget. Sometimes people go with the website, but I always tell them sometimes it's an ego thing. You want to have a website to feel cool, but the website is not actually giving you the sales. It's just going to feel the vanity metrics that are important, but also the reputation metrics like, okay, this person is serious, they have a website, but then it's not that they buy from the website, they still contact you with Instagram DMs. But the fact that you have the website makes you feel like, okay, this is a proper business instead of just
Yeah.
being Instagram. So
mm,
website branding, social media super important. Instagram best, most important. I would say TikTok second. Facebook, depending on whether your target audience is plus 50, it could be quite important, especially the Facebook groups to advertise yourself. And Google Maps. If you're like, for example, this yoga studio, I would told them your best, first, most important one is Google Maps because people check yoga studio Basel and then they see you and then they check with reviews. So that is the first thing that you need to curate. So how you appear online and how people perceive you is different based on the business that you have. But definitely, I always recommend to ask the advice of experts because many people, especially at the beginning, they have this ego thing of doing everything on their own and learning as much as possible. But at some point, you have an obstacle of you don't have enough time to become an expert at everything, and you have to
Yes,
choose
yes.
what you're already talented at and give it your best go. And the things that you're not talented at, you leave it to the others. And that's what I've learned when I was doing my own. And that's why I realized, oh, this is so important and everybody needs it because to be able to make sales, you need to be trustworthy. And to be able to be trustworthy, you need to have an understanding of how people perceive you online. And then you take it from there.
mm. Wow, lots of keywords there. Trustworthy equals to sales, and you find Mike. I don't know. You are the best to follow up on that. When she talked about finding your brand voice,
Yeah.
finding
Yeah.
your voice on the digital space,
Yeah.
owning your little space in this whole global digital world, like, is something that is becoming so important.
Yeah.
Yet something that we so much underestimate.
Yeah.
And just considering the amount of businesses and sales that are going online, and how many of us are trying to sell and reach out to a potential client, and we're struggling and we can't reach out, we can't find someone interested in our services or goods. Something that you and I are looking so much into, especially in this Afro diasporan space. What
Yeah.
do you think we go wrong where do we go wrong at identifying these opportunities on the digital space that Daniela is talking about?
Mm. So I think the first thing is actually realizing the value that you're bringing, you
Mm,
know, um, because if you realize the value that you're bringing, if you also realize how the significance of that, the changes you're going to make,
mm,
then you take it a bit more seriously.
mm,
Um, because first and foremost, it's all about the perception of your business and what's your business. Depending on the type of business you are that you are into, your business is first and foremost who you are, and that's where the whole branding comes in. How do
mm,
people see you, and how do they connect with what you have, what you offer? It's all
mm,
in the language, you know. So for me, it's starting first and foremost to what exactly are you offering, and do you know the significance of what you're offering? And when
mm,
you know that significance, it helps you to identify the impact this is going to have on those people. And right now,
mm,
we're talking purely non, say, monetary, non-economical. Just keep all the monetary value on the on the side. How much impact are you going to make to people? Because if you solve people's problem, money is the last thing that you have to worry about as a business. But
mm,
before they can realize that you can solve their problem, they need to have that perception that this person can solve the problem that I have. So
mm,
this for me is like the first high level thought that not many businesses or not many entrepreneurs think about, because when you think
mm,
about these things, then you realize what you need, you know.
mm,
And then also touching on the point which Daniela made is realizing your strengths and your weaknesses. And maybe
mm,
your weakness is not necessarily a weakness, but you have limited resources, you have limited time, you have limited energy. You
mm,
can't do everything. Everyone has 24 hours in a day. You can't work around the clock. No. So, another key thing, especially for us within the diaspora space, young entrepreneurs, is to know our strength. What can I do? And what do I have to outsource? And
mm,
the outsource does not always have to come in a way that you have to pay, because for young entrepreneurs, they're looking for how to save costs. And this is why they want to do everything themselves. But you can still identify different types of strategic partnership,
mm,
that you could find what to exchange with the other person. And
mm,
I believe that is also what we're doing here at Opportunity Pulse, to see that we can bring these like-minded people together,
mm,
people like Daniela with her experience, but also others who are coming up. So coming back to your point or your question, I think that the first and foremost thing is knowing the value and the significance of what you offer, and then having the right packaging for that, and this is what a lot of people miss. And because they miss this, then they don't think about these things.
mm. Absolutely. And it brings me, Daniela, to the point. You mentioned two important concepts. One was the vanity matrix and then the reputation matrix. Connecting this to what Mike is saying, let's say an entrepreneur, a young person, let's say in Ghana, in Nigeria, in Uganda, has found their voice, their value, and they want to offer some good or service. How do you choose which one to go with, and what should be the metrics that should guide you on that?
Daniela is tweeting.
Oh,
Is Daniela, are you still there, or you're like frozen?
oh,
I think she's frozen. Yeah.
mm.
Okay. Yeah,
Maybe
maybe.
Mike can go and go to that question.
Yeah, I was actually going to say maybe now we could take a moment and just touch also on what we are doing at Opportunity Pulse, and also
Exactly,
because
exactly.
this is very significant, Stephen, honestly,
Mm,
in the
mm,
sense that if you recall where we started the conversation from, it's
mm,
about knowing the impact that you can make, the value of what you have. Because we're
mm,
talking about the purchasing power that we have in Europe versus Africa and the impact that you can make. But
mm,
even right here where we are, there are people with different expertise, you know,
mm,
and
mm.
everyone is like just hiding in their little holes or whatever, but not really coming out. Okay, Daniela is back. Let me add her to the stage
Yeah,
again.
I'm back.
Yeah, we lost you for some seconds. Did you get Steven's last question?
Ah, no, I didn't. Please, can you repeat?
Yeah, so Daniela, Mike touched something which is very important, which is the first phase of going or finding your little space in this global digital space is finding your value or identifying your value and taking it serious. And I try to connect this to what you mentioned, the trap that we fall into. You mentioned about the vanity matrix and the reputation matrix. So I'm trying to I imagine a young person who is trying to offer a service or sell a good somewhere in Accra or in Tema or in Kampala or in Nairobi, and they are in this kind of dilemma. What should I focus on first? Trying to identify my space on this digital space or as a creator, as a provider. What should they focus on first? And are there any metrics or any benchmarks that you should guide that could guide them on that?
I would say respect the market and serve the market, because
Mm,
most of the time young people are taught that the university degree or the things that they know, it's their value, but knowledge is no value at all. Knowledge is just potential. It's just it doesn't matter if I know how to build a rocket space because I've studied engineer if I don't go and build a rocket space. I actually had my ex-partner who was a software engineer in one of the most prestigious universities in Italy, and he doesn't know how to build a website. I do, but he doesn't, because he's just learning the code and learning how to work for this company and doing this little small thing inside the company. So what does the market want from a software engineer? Can you do this? The answer is simple, yes or no. And when it comes to business, I would say the first and most obvious benchmark is, are you making any money? It doesn't, you don't have to be breaking even. You can also lose money because you're setting up the systems. But are you making any money? You know, most of the time you can maybe be stuck on what your family and friends think, but are your families and friends expert in the field? No. What is an expert in the field saying about what you're doing? What did they do before you? You know, I saw very brilliant my host in Nigeria, Philip. He was very brilliant because he is young and he has set up a system where he's buying things from China for Nigerian people and then bringing it to Nigeria so that they themselves can either sell or simply enjoy the things. And he has someone in China that does quality control and goes there to say, yeah, this is the real deal. This is not a faulty product. So for him to come up with this system, he literally just saw what the market what the market requires. Can you get me this thing? I see that it's cheaper in China. Can I get it from you? Yeah, sure. Let me make an order. And then he had a network strong enough that he received enough orders to be able to make money out of that. So just him going through life and understanding what the market needs helped him then create a successful business. So I would say that is the first benchmark. Is this business actually making you money? And then afterwards, is your network strong enough? If not, how do you expand to other networks? That's, for example, where digital presence comes in handy. But for example, in Nigeria, it can be digital presence, even just being in the right WhatsApp groups, you know, or having the right connections that need the same and they need it in bulk. And then you just have to have 3 clients instead of 22. So depending on where you are at, what is the need that you want to solve, then you have different steps. Most people, I would say, especially young people in Africa, focus just on getting the money. But the thing is, I always say, like, maybe I shouldn't have said it that way, but at some point he proposed me, oh, would you like to enter this business with me? And I told him straight up, look, the first job that I had was being a street campaigner for Greenpeace and advocating for a sustainable world. What you're creating with the money that you have is not super sustainable for me because it's a lot of pollution and all of this. So for me myself, it doesn't resonate much with my values. And from the guru digital marketers that I'm following day in, day night, getting eye bags under my eyes, what they always say is the first thing to focus on is what do you like to do in your free time? What do you do anyways? Because if you need to be in a room with someone that is passionate about something and is reading day in, day out about this and is always on it and is like scaling their business, you're never gonna catch up with them and they are your competition. So you should focus on something that anyways you like, anyway you're doing in your spare time, and that doesn't feel like work to you. Because the amount of hours you have to put on something before it becomes marketable, before it gives you money back, before you create the right systems, it's so much that it's best not to be tortured. It's best not to feel like it's work and you're doing it just for the money, because
Mhm.
there are so many ways to do money that why don't you choose one that is fun for you?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's what I would say.
yeah. Steven, you're muted.
Yeah, I was just nodding in agreement on everything that you're saying. Um, just,
Yeah,
uh, just being true to your north, to your values, and also being consistent. It's the best that you can say. But what one thing I learned from what you're saying, Daniela, is like even being an entrepreneur is like a constant journey of exploration and discovery. It's like there is no magic bullet and say you start this idea and then you make it straight away. Like you saying, you're dealing in bags and then you're doing, and then the next thing you're trying coaching and consulting and you're creating things. And and also knowing that you cannot provide everything by yourself, then looking for a network and the people that can sharpen and really build you, and the idea that we're trying to build with Opportunity Pulse, bringing different minds together, bring different professionals together. So this is the whole journey of entrepreneurship. And Daniela, if you would just tell us currently where you are at and looking at where you're supposed to be or where you want to be, um, what is it that's going to what you're going to need to get there? Maybe this could be an inspirational aspect for those who are still struggling and maybe things are not working out the way they expect. So you know where you want to be as Yara Spark, and you know where you are right now. What is it that you're going to do or you're working on to get to that point?
So currently, I am a digital marketing agency that, oh, first of all, thank you for the question.
You're welcome.
Currently, I'm a digital marketing agency that mostly relies, I would say, on the network, on the mouth to mouth, sometimes on online leads that transform into something. But I definitely do think that the network is not infinite if I don't keep on expanding it and I don't keep on working on ways to become more and more popular, more and more watched, more and more famous. So where I want to be, it's first of all in everyone's mouth, and
no way.
and how I want to get there is simply by putting one step in front of the other and putting more of my digital presence and what my company does online. And actually, I have been recently applying for funding because I am connections here in Berlin. I even have an apartment here, so I can kind of come whenever I want. And there is a lot of the startup ecosystem. But I definitely recommend anyone who wants to do a business to start by being bootstrapped, by bootstrapping. And bootstrapping is simply making it on your own, using your own money to start the systems, to get your corporate email, domain, all of the boring technical stuff. Why? Because if you start by being a VC funded startup, that it's so cool, it sounds so nice, you're actually bending your wheel to where the money is, because you are not really building a company because you see a need and you are passionate about it. That is again what separates you from your competitors, because you are willing to work on it for hours on end, which is what is required to success. but you're
Mhm.
doing it because you saw this ad that says, I will give you money if you do this. Okay, let me do this. What if it doesn't work? Then I'm gonna give you money if you do this. Okay, let me just modify my soul all the time and what I want my business to be based on the opportunities that I find. That it's actually very, very bad at the beginning for your company, and it creates a lot of confusion, and then you don't know which direction you're going to. So I've actually thought about it for a long time. And for example, some of the collaborators that I have, I found them in freelancing platforms that I recommend to everyone, kind of like Fiverr, Upwork. And I realized that there is a huge problem with these freelancing platforms because it's all about running the cost down, hiring the cheapest service, obliging like freelancers to put their prices low because you have so much competition, and of course the pricing is the one that the client is following. And I'm thinking of doing it in a different way, in a more sustainable, ethical way, where someone is like, okay, I am a company based in Essen and I need a graphic designer and this is my budget. And then you're automatically matched with three graphic designers that have the skills that you need for the budget that you need. And that's all. You know, you should know who you are, you should know what you want, and you should know what you're willing to pay for it. Not that I have this budget, but I'm seeing that this person is asking half of it. So I'm actually thinking of halving my budget. And then the person that is coming at that budget, you're like, could you do it a bit cheaper? And this creates a lot of like friction and I would say unsustainable environment for everyone around. So I'm actually thinking in the future, I would love my platform to be so big that it's actually a marketplace for freelancers where people can be matched. And that would also help a lot Africans because the majority of them are so talented and I have to say quite cheap. So it would be golden for them to be able to have this type of things and not have to always compromise the price. So that's
Mhm.
where I would love to be in the future and I'm working towards, while also starting with client to client, service to service, and providing excellence everywhere I go, like stepmom Switzerland taught me.
I'd like to touch on something quickly that Daniela mentioned. Um,
Yes, please.
how do you, what is typical for you when you find a client? Do you ask them, so before you begin the conversation with the client, or let's say you already understand the problem of the client, do you ask them what's their budget and then you offer the service, you know, corresponding to their budget? Or, you have what you're going to, what they need, and the service you're going to render to them, and you offer it at the, say, yeah, fairest price to them. Do you get the question?
Like, if I can say the question to see if I got it right, you're asking me what is my process to price myself with new clients.
Oh, let me put it more directly. Do you typically ask client what is your budget?
I would say not really. I usually just propose my own, and then based on their reaction, if they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to negotiate to put it down, then I can think, okay, does this make sense for me or not? Because
Yeah.
adding freelancers that I like, it's weird because I am in a moment where they are the people I collaborate with, I consider them my employees, but sometimes I have to consider them freelancer because if there is a dry season where nobody's buying, I can't just like pay them and be like, hey guys, this is from my own pocket. So this
Mhm.
is like a kind of um, intricacy of the business of being a digital marketing agency, that you rely
Mhm.
heavily on the stream of clients that you have until you have reorder kind of business, which is the most the biggest one, but this is for any business, I would say.
Yeah.
Anyways, for now it is starting like, because we are new, like we bend to the client's reaction. And
Mm-hmm.
then there are companies who are strong and they are popular and they are famous, that they are having easily declined to ban because either it's like this or it's not like this. But I kind of like this game because I am between European companies where I'm asking cheap ton of money, and then sorry, pardon the language, and then I am having African companies where I am a bit more loose, because it's a bro, it's a cis, and the spending power is different. So I shouldn't ask the same. I shouldn't even ask half of that. It's like
Mm-hmm.
the client in Europe is compensating for all of them. So
You
I
know
would
this.
say,
Yeah, I like that final point. You know, Stephen, this is also another um this is also another, yeah, just always looking at your situation where you are and what works for you, because there is no one size fits all, and you have to look at the benefit in your position, because frankly speaking, sometimes I feel jealous when I look at what startups back home are doing. They are getting this $1 million funding, that $1 million funding, you know, and some of them you don't know how long they've been, but most times I have the feeling they just started recently, 1, 2, 3, or 5 years ago. But there are also some of us on the other side here who've been grinding for years. We've now got $1 million funding, for several reasons. But then it kind of feels like it puts us at a disadvantage, but you would be surprised that also the guys over there, even with all this funding that you're having, they kind of wish they are in our position. So it's just this world that you're never content with what you have where you are. And all I'm trying to say is, I think there's always an advantage wherever you find yourself. And you can always look deeper and you will see what is in it for you. Because I like the point which you mentioned now, Daniela, about the fact that, yeah, you are serving people across two worlds and you can balance it somehow. Not everyone has this advantage. Some are only here, they can only serve clients here, and they have no connection on the other side or the reverse. So I think we can always find advantage where we are and make the best out of it. And again, it goes back to the beginning of everything. Who are you? What can you offer? What's the significance? And not chasing the money, because, yeah, you don't have all the time in the world. You don't have all the strength. How long are you going to keep chasing the money? So you still have to enjoy life at the end of the day and have fun.
yeah, creating
You know?
enough good systems that they are sustainable, it is gonna eventually bring you enough money to not needing to chase the money. Especially at the
Yeah.
beginning, you should just create 80% value and then 20% pricing, negotiating, being uh, cutthroat and being like, yes, this is what I want. But then, as you grow and as people see your value, then you can make your conditions because people see your value.
100%.
But first, you need
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Stevie, back to you.
I just can't say how grateful we are, Daniela, for your insights and the way you approach that question, taking it from where you are right now and the values that are driving you to where you're going to, how you value networking, expansion, and scalability, but still being true to the fairness. Because I think everything that you said was zeroing around that. Even finding the core niche is about fairness. How do you want to be perceived? Are you going to be fair in what you're offering in your service? How do your clients perceive you? That eventually becomes the brand that you want the market to identify you. And like I see that also in my service. I'm in the industry of education and helping young people finding the right career, the right education path. I find sometimes there is so much that we do that is never remunerated or that has no economic aspect to it. But the value or the happiness of seeing a young person, like today I was speaking to two students of mine that 3 years ago did not have an idea what they wanted to do, and I showed them the way forward into going into a vocational training. And today they were telling me, we have written and we've done our last exam and we are officially nurses and we are going to be entering the job market. And 3 years down the road, they have totally become different persons. You see, 3 years can make such a difference. And I'm thinking, what inspires you to continue even when it does not have a monetary value or aspect to it? It's that the fairness and wishing others well And I think this is the idea that is driving you. And I believe that you're going to achieve all your best, whatever you're looking forward to achieve. As we are winding this down to at the end, Daniela, I would like to ask you your cultural advantage. I say this with absolute certainty. You've got a competitive edge that probably
100%.
either myself or Mike has from Italy, Switzerland, Berlin, Nigeria, Ghana, Italy. It's like you got all the points that
Yeah.
you can just tap into the entire.
Switzerland.
So, how important is the cultural awareness in your business, in your sales, in your negotiations? How much impact does that play in your
I would
ability?
say everything actually, because again, just now I've done branding proposal, and for a Nigerian client was 2 weeks, and for a Swiss client was 30 days, and I just knew that both of them wouldn't bat an eye. Actually, the Nigerian complained that it was a bit long, but I realized without asking, this is what I can do, for the both of them. And this is the time and research that I would take for the both of them, because one knows that quality and time work one hand in hand, and one wants to be more fast and maybe is more focused on the vanity metrics that are important for him. And at the end of the day, I can help you sell, but I also should do what you want. So I would say being aware of the culture definitely helps me in dealing with the clients, especially in different markets, help me network, help me get more clients, and understanding that trust and what is perceived as professionality is what is gonna actually then get you to a point where you have your non-negotiable as a business. So yeah, I am happy about my experience. I would say I don't think I travel much, but definitely wherever I go, I live long enough to really understand how the people work. Plus, my background in psychology helps. So I just love to see how humans behave and how really there is no normal. Like sometimes I would be angry when I'm in a conversation and someone says this is normal, and I'm like, I could show you a world where everything is the opposite, baby. Like everything that you just said, the normal is the opposite. So I'm just like, yeah, if you want to believe that, but so that
Yeah.
helps. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, um, as they saying, culture is strategy for breakfast. You just really broke it down to what it needs to be.
Yeah.
And this is the message that we always give to the diaspora, and that there is something about culture that you bring from home. And sometimes we do not promote this, we don't sell this value that we have. Whether you're
Yeah.
looking for a job, you tend to be like, I'm an engineer, I'm an electrical engineer, I'm a business analyst or a data analyst. And then you forget to tell them that there is something about me. I understand your potential clients in a different way. I speak 2 or 3 different languages. I grew up in an environment that taught me to be resilient, and I don't see challenges, I see opportunities. So, this is the idea we're trying to put forward when we're doing these opportunity pals events and so on, to help the diaspora members to market, to brand that cultural advantage that they have, because it is such priceless if they would put it at the forefront. And I'm so glad that you're using this in all your branding, in all your negotiation and proposals and so on. And yeah, looking forward to more interactions with you. Mike, would you like to wind this down?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, I'd like to thank Daniela so very much for this session. Honestly, we could keep talking the whole night, and this is not going to end.
Yeah.
But uh, and also, I would also like to thank everyone who's watching from all the different locations. Friends and families of Daniela's, and also the people from our side, Stephen and myself. Um, so if you're watching us, I am Mike, the founder of Ojira Soft and Settling. And together with Steven, we created Opportunity Pulse, a platform that is connecting Afro diasporans in Germany and other parts of Europe. As you have heard from our conversation this evening, there's a lot of potentials that exist between us, But A, if we do not identify these potentials and recognize the significance of other people, then we forfeit a lot. Everyone has something to offer. You just have to see where what you have is making a difference. And that's what is all bringing us here together. One unique thing that you would even get to find out is that um, Daniela's business and also to some extent mine, they have a lot of similarities, but we collaborate. You know, we see the value that we bring, that we offer at the end of the day to a common end user, to a common client, and we put our strength together. And literally, this is the kind of culture that we want to bring in a community. Um, Steven is an educator, something he has passion for. And then with this, we also bring it together to educate, to network, to motivate the people, to inspire them. There's a lot that we can learn from each other. And stay connected with us. Check us out on opportunity-pulse.com. Check out Daniela's platform, yaraspark.com. I think if you go over this video, you will see all the links. I kept putting it there. And also definitely check out chirotoconsulting.com to find out all about what we're doing. We would love to hear from you guys. Connect with us, whoever you are. Uh, yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much. Maybe Daniela, you have your last shot.
Thank you very much for having me, guys. It was a pleasure, and it was so nice to be here. I cannot wait to have the video and share it everywhere and make thousands of reels, because it made me also happy to share my experience. And it's a great platform that you have, guys, that you give to us diasporans. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing who's next. And again, thank you for promoting my brand. And if anyone needs something digital and want to get some digital presence, go to yairaspark.com and I'll see you there. Thanks.
Wonderful. Yaira Spark for you guys. Check it out, and we'll be looking forward to having more and more conversations with you. Thanks so much, Daniela. Thanks, Mike. To everyone who's been watching and following us, thank you so much. Bye bye.
Cheers, guys. Have a nice one.
Bye.
Okay.